Welcome to PAATH History. Today we are going to discuss about Crusade, background and causes. The term Crusade, used in modern historiography, at first referred to the wars in the Holy Land beginning in 1095, but the range of events to which the term has been applied has been greatly extended so that its use can create a misleading impression of coherence, particularly regarding the early Crusades. The term used for the campaign of the First Crusade was journey or peregrinatio or pilgrimage. Pope Innocent III used the term Negotium Crucis or affair of the cross for the Eastern Mediterranean Crusade, but was reluctant to apply crusading terminology to the Albigensian Crusade. The song of the Albigensian Crusade from about 1213 contains the first recorded vernacular use of the Occitan cruzada or French Crusade and English Crusade. The Crusades in the Holy Land are traditionally counted as 9 distinct campaigns, numbered from the First Crusade of 1095 to 99 to the 9th Crusade of 1271-72. This convention is used by Charles Mills in his History of the Crusades for the Recovery and Possession of the Holy Land, which was published in 1820 and is often retained for convenience even though it is somewhat arbitrary. The Western chronicles present the First Crusade as surprising and unexpected event, but historical analysis has demonstrated it was foretold by a number of earlier developments in the 10th century. The city of Jerusalem had become more recognized by both laity and clerics as symbolic of penitential devotion. There is evidence that segments of the Western noble class were willing to accept a doctrine of papal governance in military matters. The Seljuk hold on the Holy City was weak, and the Byzantines were open to the opportunity presented by Western military aid for specific campaigns against the Seljuks. This presented the papacy with a chance to reinforce the principle of papal sovereignty with a display of military power such as that proposed by Pope Gregory VII in 1074. By 1040, the papacy had diminished to little more than a localized bishopric with limited influence beyond Rome. Rival Roman noble families appointed popes with relatives and proteges in order to manipulate power. Gregorian reform saw the emergence of an assertive reformist papacy eager to increase its power and influence over secular Europe. The investiture controversy was a power struggle between church and state in medieval Europe. In order to gather military resources for his conflict with the emperor, Pope Alexander II developed a system of recruitment via oaths that Pope Gregory VII extended into a network across Europe. This also supported the development of a doctrine of holy war. Death in a just war became to be seen as martyrdom and warfare itself as a penitential activity. Gregory's doctrine of papal primacy led to conflict with Eastern Christians, where the traditional view was that the Pope was only one amongst the 5 patriarchs of the Church, alongside the patriarchates of Antioch, Constantinople, Alexandria, and Jerusalem. This, combined with differences of rite and custom resulting from a lack of dialogue, led the Christian Church to split along Latin or Orthodox lines in 1054 and a continuing permanent divergence in what is called the East-West Schism. Warfare was endemic in Western Europe in this period, with violence often a part of political discourse. The Christian population had a desire for a more effective church, which evidenced itself in rioting in Italy and a greater general level of piety, which prompted investment and growth in monasteries across England, France, and Germany. Pilgrimage to the Holy Land began in the 4th century but expanded after safer routes through Hungary developed from 1000. It was an increasingly articulate piety within the knighthood and the normative devotional and penitential practices of the aristocracy that created a fertile ground for crusading appeals. In the Eastern Mediterranean, tolerance, trade, and political relationships between the Muslim and the Christian kingdoms waxed and waned. The various cultures and creeds coexisted and competed, but the status quo was disrupted by the western migration of the Turkish tribes, particularly the Seljuks, between the 1040s and 1060s. The Seljuks were recent converts to Islam following the Sunni tradition. Nevertheless, the indigenous Arabs lived under the Seljuks in relative peace and prosperity. Romanus IV Diogenes attempted to confront the Seljuks to suppress sporadic raiding, leading to the 1071 defeat of the Byzantine army at the Battle of Manzikert. This was once considered a pivotal event by historians, but is now regarded as only one further step in the expansion of the Great Seljuk Empire into Anatolia. In 1092, the relative stability began to disintegrate following the death of the Vizier Nizam al-Mulk, who had been the effective ruler, closely followed by the death of the Sultan. Catholic pilgrims and merchants reported that the frontier conditions between the Syrian ports and Jerusalem became increasingly inhospitable. Revolts in Egypt also weakened Fatimid authority, but the enmity led to the Fatimid capture of Jerusalem from the Seljuks in 1098. The Byzantine Empire was also in prolonged crisis during the 10th century. Under Basil II, the empire had reached a zenith in 1025. From this point of arrival of new enemies on all frontiers placed intolerable strains on the resources of the state. In Italy, they were confronted by the Normans. To the north, the Pechinese, Servia, the Cumans, as well as the Seljuk. This situation was probably the cause of instability in the Byzantine hierarchy rather than the result. In order to maintain order, the emperors were forced to recruit mercenary armies, sometimes from the very forces that provided the threat. Despite all these, recent scholarship had identified encouraging positive signs in the health of the empire. From the 8th century, the Christians had begun campaigning to recapture the Iberian Peninsula from the Muslims in what has become known as Reconquista. The campaign reached a turning point in 1085 when Alfonso VI of Leon and Castile captured Toledo. In the same period, the Muslim Emirate of Sicily was conquered by Norman adventurer Roger de Hauteville in 1091, and this was the background to the Crusades. This is the end of our today's discussion. Subscribe our channel, like our video and comment. Listen to our podcast episodes. Follow our official Facebook page, Twitter handle and Instagram. For any query, feel free to mail us. For details, see the description.